What's your future ambition? I'm sure that's a shocking question, but you won't see it as that surprising if you find out that there is a great criminal whose future ambition is to be a gangster. From the very moment he was born, growing up, and even as an adult, he has never wanted to be anything different from a gangster.
Hi, Mom, what do you think?
You look like a gangster.
That villain is no one else than Henry from the blockbuster 1990 movie titled Goodfellas. So hey, fellas, let me take you down the memory lane of Henry eventually fulfilling his ambition. The movie starts in New York in 1970. Henry is now an adult, and trust me, he is living his dream as one of the craziest gangsters you can ever think of. He is driving the car with his two friends and work partners, Jimmy and Tommy, when he hears a bang on their truck. He assumes it could be a flat tire or anything for such, forgetting that he has just finished killing a man and bundling him into his booth. When they get to the truck, they realize their victim hasn't died. He's such a stubborn man, and they aren't ready to spare him. So guess what? They shoot him over and over again and ensure he is dead. Now, while the crime of murder is Henry's first crime in this movie, which should earn him life imprisonment, before we judge Henry,
Easy. Oh, Andrew. I know.
let me take you down memory lane so you know how many crimes he committed before 1970. Henry was born in East New York, Brooklyn, and all he has wanted to be is to be a gangster. Right in front of his house is a club called the Cab Stand, which is being run by a man named Tuddy on behalf of his elder brother, Paul. He sees how these gangsters live their lives, their careless manners of living, and how they can do anything without anyone complaining. They could commit crimes with no authorities chasing them. They command respect. Henry wants to be like them. So he takes a part-time job to work at the Cab Stand. He would watch Paul and do everything he wanted with Paul. To his parents, that job is only a part-time job. But to him, it is his full-time job.
Supposed to be a part-time job, but for me, it was definitely full-time.
That is his future ambition. That's all he wants to be. So he stops attending school. The school keeps sending emails to his house, and whenever his father finds out, he will beat him. He eventually tries to quit his job and reports the mail delivery man to Paul. In response, Paul threatens the man to detest delivering mail from the school to Henry's house, thereby giving Henry more freedom. As he continues, he starts breaking people's cars and setting them on fire to command respect from the people. Yes, that is Henry's second crime in the movie, the crime of arson, which should earn him not less than 10 years imprisonment and up to $10,000 in fine for each car, as he burns not less than 5 cars. Summing up, Henry has 50 years imprisonment, a $50,000 fine, and a life imprisonment. In this lifestyle, he is introduced to Jimmy, another little kid who enjoys stealing, and later, he is introduced to Tommy by Paul. Now, Tommy is another juvenile with a love for crime. Eventually, Henry starts selling illegal substances like cigarettes. The last I checked our laws, the selling of illicit cigarettes can earn our dear villain not less than 5 years imprisonment. So he now has 55 years imprisonment, $50,000 fines, and life imprisonment. Well, not every day is a jackpot for Henry, as he eventually gets arrested for the sale of cigarettes. Paul hires a lawyer, and he keeps quiet throughout the entire interrogation without snitching on his colleagues, so he gets released and celebrated by the team. By 1963, the trio, Jimmy, Tommy, headed by Henry, have become the terror of Idlewild Airport. The airport is their stealing ground, and as of that year, they have stolen not less than $30 million. By this, Henry adds several counts of theft to his original 3 crimes, making about 4 and countless years imprisonment. During one of their hangouts, a man informs them of a box of about $500,000 coming into the airport, and they make plans to raid by the weekend. Eventually, he meets a young, beautiful lady, Karen Friedman, whom he starts dating. To be honest, they had a very rough start. In fact, he stands her up on their second date, which angers her, but he's a handsome young man that no one can resist. He also takes her to a comedy show at Air France, and during the show, he and Jimmy sneak away and steal $420,000 without using a gun. Man, what manner of perfection is that? Well, that's his 5th crime in the movie, and he has about 80 years imprisonment right now, and his life imprisonment too.
Where? Stay there, don't move.
One day, Karen calls him, informing him that one of her neighbors is trying to molest her. He takes her back home, and when she enters, goes to find the man, and he assaults him. He hits him repeatedly, making that his 6th crime in the movie. But we can say that crime is a result of provocation, because who hurts the girlfriend of a city gangster? After he finishes with his punishment and has hit the man well, he returns to Karen and gives her a gun to protect herself. Truth be told, his act turned her on. Having a man who could protect you is actually bliss to her. That makes her decide to love him forever, and she marries him despite her parents' hesitation because of his job and because he isn't Jewish. Even after the marriage, he stays late outside the house. In one account, he takes over a truck from the driver and steals all the money. Eventually, she starts getting scared of his profession, feeling like he would get caught and she would be alone. But he reassures her that people like him do not get caught unless they want to, and she doesn't have to be worried. On June 11th, 1970, in Queens, New York, the blessed night that Henry does his first murder. The same night shown at the beginning of the movie, a man, Billy Batts, who was killed at the beginning of the movie, had just been released from prison. Now he has spent some years in prison, and to recover lost time, he visits a bar owned by Henry. At the bar, he gets into an argument with Tommy, and at first, Henry tries to settle the matter.
Sorry, Tommy gets a little loaded, he doesn't mean any disrespect.
Eventually, they kill this man and bundle him into their truck. They decide to bury him in a forest, so they go home to get a shovel, but they are forced to eat because of Grandma. They finish the food and continue their journey, when Henry hears the noises at the back of the car, and they go to the truck. They eventually bury him and continue their lives. He gets a mistress, Janice, and as he messes around with Janice, she stops concentrating on her work, and her boss gets furious. To stop her boss from frustrating her, he adds another assault to his list of 6 crimes by hitting the man repeatedly and warning him never to get near to Janice again and to keep paying her. Paul also finds out about Billy. He asks Henry if he knows anything about it, but Henry denies it. 6 months later, Henry discovers that the government has marked where Billy is buried for development. To conceal the body from being found, they returned and exhumed the body, making it his 8th crime of concealing investigation. Karen finds out about Janice, and she confronts him with a gun. So he relocates from the house. He is frustrated, and 2 days later, he takes a man who owes him a sum of money to the zoo. He hits the man repeatedly, but the man refuses to return the money. He uses threats and threatens to throw him into the lion's den if he doesn't return the money. And the threat works. However, it also makes it his 9th crime. Upon getting the money back, they return to the city to find out the police want them. The man's sister is a typist for the FBI, and she has ratted them out, including her brother. They are arrested, and the judge sentences Henry and Jimmy to 10 years imprisonment for the assault and the threat used against the man. At least he's being punished for one of his entire 9 crimes. Living in the prison is horrible for Henry. Just like any other criminal, Karen doesn't have money to feed the family, so he gets her to bring illegal substances to the prison for him to sell, thereby adding the sale of narcotics to his list of crimes, making it the 10th one. In 1978, he was released on parole and plans to return to selling narcotics, since that is the best way to make money. But Paul begs him otherwise. He eventually returns and uses the house of his mistress, Sandy, to deal with drugs. Jimmy connects him with a grand theft at John Kennedy's airport, where they steal millions on the condition that they will live a secret life without showing off the money. when one of them, Stack, forgets the truck at a place, and the truck gets found by the police with his fingerprints all over it. They are forced to kill Stack because the police will soon get to Stack, and he may snitch on them. Several months down the line, almost everyone who was involved in that theft is dead, and their bodies are found in mysterious ways. Well, except Henry and Tommy. A year later, Tommy also gets killed, leaving Henry as the only survivor. I must say, he has a lucky head. On May 11th, 1980, he gets a very great drug deal. At that time, he is already an emotional wreck due to excess drug usage. Throughout the day, he notices a helicopter trailing him, and that evening, when he's about to prepare the drugs they are taking to the airport, he gets arrested. Afraid, Karen disposes of all the drugs in the toilet. He was arrested for narcotics, and since there is no present evidence found against him, he was incarcerated and released. However, he fears that his life is at stake. He has kept Paul in an uncomfortable position, and Jimmy also wants to save his ass and ensure Henry doesn't snitch on him. Eventually, he is about to apologize to Paul and sever their relationship for $3,600. He finds out Karen had disposed of the drugs he thought they could use to survive, and Karen tries to go to Jimmy for financial help, but suspects Jimmy wants to kill him.
I'll come back later.
He also meets Jimmy, who brings him a deal, but he also suspects he won't return to the deal. After several crimes, our great villain, Henry Hill, gets scared for his life. Now, why does a man who has taken several lives feel scared of death though? He decides to go under the witness protection program and act as an informant to protect his family. He snitches on Paul and Jimmy to the police, and they are imprisoned. Even until the movie ends, Henry remains under the witness protection program, although he complains that his life is boring and average. In the course of Henry Hill's life, he committed murder, arson, several counts of theft, several counts of dealing with narcotics, and several counts of assault, battery, and the use of threat. A grand total of all the years he should spend in prison should be life imprisonment, about 100 years imprisonment, and fines not less than $1 million. However, he spent 6 years in prison, was incarcerated, and now lives a free life with the Witness Protection Act. Do you think these punishments avail Henry Hill, or does he deserve better? Let me know in the comment section.